Well, hello. There was an echo, but hello there. The last I need is for someone to be listening to not even the video, the podcast, and the first thing they hear is like in their freaking face, because then they'll just probably be like, no, we're good. We'll move on to the next podcast. But hello and welcome to the Real Football Fans of New Jersey. I had to do a quick workout before tonight's episode. So I swear, when the camera popped on, I was like, I look like a 12-year-old boy tonight. So for all of those wondering, yes, I had to do a quick workout. So yeah, but welcome to the Real Football Fans in New Jersey. We are thrilled to have you guys here. We are live right now on Facebook, YouTube, and the Twitter. Go ahead, engage with us, talk to us throughout the show. We're so excited to be with you live for episode 204. So we're just past that 200 marker, and we're just keep adding. So we have a great show for you guys tonight, a lot to cover. So we went ahead and asked you guys some poll questions. And listen, we're delivering you guys content. You guys are the ones delivering us these poll results here. We had a ton of respondents tonight. So thank you guys as always. And as we go through them, if you didn't get a chance to vote earlier, no worries. Why don't you tell us how you're feeling live right now? So we had 3 questions for you, 2 of them football related, 1 housewives related. So the first question: which 2021 rookie quarterback will take a bigger leap in their year 2 season? So is it going to be Jacksonville's Trevor Lawrence or the New York Jets' Zach Wilson? 76% of you went with Trevor Lawrence. Who did you go with on this one?
I am not with the strong majority. I kind of was rolling the dice on this one, and I went with Zach Wilson. I really like what the Jets obviously did. They have one of the best drafts amongst all 32 teams in the NFL draft just, the other week. And I like what they've done this offseason as far as adding in pieces for Zach Wilson. And there's something, just a weird gut feeling I have about Trevor Lawrence, where I just feel like he's going to have a very similar year to his rookie season.
Okay.
Which, obviously Jacksonville is not hoping for. They're hoping for a step up. Not that he had a horrible rookie season, but he certainly wasn't, dazzling as the number 1 overall draft pick from a year ago. I don't know. I just have a weird feeling about it. It's a gut feeling, and I'm going with Zach Wilson. I'm rolling.
Enough we do vote on each other's polls so we can get some more data in there. And obviously Katie and I want to see how each other is feeling. I actually clicked Trevor Lawrence's on yours, but I really didn't mean to. And I think I did it. And I was like, you know what? I actually feel Zach Wilson as well. So I redeemed myself. I actually went into our Twitter poll and voted for Zach Wilson. So okay. I gave a point over there. But I have the very same mindset as you. And I know, we polled our audience a couple months back or at the end of the season, is Trevor Lawrence, basically going to be something in the NFL? Or was he just a really talented college quarterback? And I said, you guys can all call me out on this in a couple of years if I'm wrong. I actually did just think, he had a very great college career and he might just be an average quarterback on a team. So that's really how I feel about him. And I think the Jets, and we talked about this last week. It's still a hot topic. They did phenomenal at the draft, and they are giving Zach Wilson the weapons he needs from a line, from wide receivers to running back. So if he doesn't perform this season, that's a huge question mark in my opinion. But I think they're trying to build as much around him as they possibly can. And it's not saying Jacksonville didn't do anything. I don't think they did enough for Trevor Lawrence. So that's why I'm thinking, Zach Wilson as well. All righty. So this is an interesting one because I think, not many people maybe thought that, this quarterback would go to this team at this time frame. So will Atlanta's quarterback Desmond Ridder start any games during his rookie season? And big majority here, 79% of you said yes. How are you feeling on this one?
I went with yes. And I would say mine isn't more so based on talent. Obviously, they've got Marcus Mariota at quarterback. I'm assuming he'll most likely be the starter week 1 and who they want to roll with for the season. So it's not really based on talent, more so I can't remember what season it was. It was recently where there was like a stat of like, these were all the quarterbacks that started a game this year in the NFL. And it was just because like injuries and stuff happening where it was like these random players that like third string quarterbacks were seeing time on the field just because of weird circumstances. And so I kind of don't, I'm saying yes, not so much that he'll take the job from Marcus Mariota. He very well could. But I'm more so like at some point, he might have to just, get in there for, all intents and purposes, like just things happen. So that's kind of, I'm going weird on this one too, rolling the dice on this one as well and saying, yes, he will. Maybe Mariota will miss a game or something like that. And we'll see Ritter hit the field.
I guess I must admit, I didn't really think of it that way. I was just thinking
I was like weird thinking tonight for me.
It's not weird thinking, though. It's very common and smart thinking, in my opinion, because of everything that you had just said there around kind of, we called last year the year of the quarterback. We're moving into another season where it's the year of the quarterback because of how many changes have happened this offseason. The focus is on QB1 and QB2 on every team right now. So I think you're absolutely correct in that. I actually put no because like I had said, admittingly, my head wasn't at if Marcus Mariota got hurt. I was just saying, I think they're going to go all in on Marcus Mariota, actually. And I think he will be the starter for Atlanta and see if he can go all the way out. But you're right. Things do happen and things were happening the last 2 seasons amongst all of your top quarterbacks. So
yeah. And of course, like, I think it plays a huge factor. Like, I know it's just one game, but 17 regular games in the regular season, it makes a difference. It's very hard for anybody at any position to be starting all 17 games throughout the season. So, injuries are going to happen. Even like, obviously people are still testing positive for COVID. Like, you have no idea. If somebody, it's more than likely that certain people are not going to be able to play a full regular season. So I definitely think at some point we're going to see Ritter.
Well, good point. I'll still say no on this one. I just don't think so. But putting injuries aside, I don't think so. But yeah, you're definitely not in the least, minority there. You are definitely in the majority. So with 79% saying yes. All right. Finally, last question. What are you more excited for? We've got 2 big things coming out in the world of Housewives. We've got the Real Housewives of Dubai or the Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip Season 2. And this was a wildly aggressive, like all in favor. 93% of you said the Real Housewives of Dubai.
Yeah. I went with Dubai. Like, I'm very excited and fascinated to see what that's going to look like. It's a whole other world that none of us have seen before. And we're going to get like that backstage pass to see what it's like. And honestly, I will be very honest. I did not watch season 1 of Ultimate Girls Trip. It did eventually make its way to Bravo.
It is on it, yeah.
But I think if it had just started on Bravo from the get-go, I probably would have jumped in on it. And then like, it just felt like the ship had passed once they brought it from Peacock to Bravo. And I definitely like the cast better from season 1 versus season 2. So I kind of feel like if I were to watch it, like I might as well just watch season 1. But Dubai gives me the opportunity to jump in day 1, episode 1, and really dive into a new franchise. I'm very excited to see what it's going to look like.
Absolutely. So I went with Dubai as well. And it's very off like the point you had just made, it's new to us. It's brand spanking new. We're getting, one of the ladies what was she on?
Ladies of London.
Yeah. So
whatever it was. Yeah.
If you want to count that, I guess it's not brand spanking new.
But I don't know her. I never watched that show.
90% new. So as opposed to, and listen, I caught a couple of episodes of Girls Trip, the first one. It was good. I do want to watch it start to finish.
I don't doubt that it was good, by the way.
It was.
I just never dove into it.
Yeah. So, and I think it was definitely good for sure. So the reason why I picked Dubai is because it's new. We know all the ladies in Ultimate Girls Trip 2, and it looks so good. Like we watched, Katie and I already looked and dissected the preview. It looks very good, very good. So, and it's in Bluestone Manor. And so obviously, so we'll definitely catch it for sure. But definitely the excitement is more so for Dubai, as 93% of you thought so as well.
Yep.
Alrighty. So those were our poll questions. As always, thank you overwhelming amount of votes across Instagram and Twitter. So thank you guys so much. Again, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter right now. The best places to interact with us one-on-one is Facebook and YouTube. If you are on Twitter, just make sure you're replying to the actual tweet so I can see it. But I'll go ahead and pop that YouTube link in there right now. And I did show it before, but we do have PTI Sports watching us on YouTube. So hello.
Yeah, so let's dive into the big stories of the week in the world of football. And this is very, on point with this is going to be happening tomorrow night with the NFL having their schedule release. But we have some early NFL schedule release news. Some of the games have already broken. We mentioned a little bit last week because we had gotten the news about the Giants playing a game in London. But we have a decent chunk of games here to already report for you. So if you don't like spoilers, tune us out for a little bit and then come back. But here we are. So, we've already found out about it and we got to report it. So although the official NFL schedule release isn't until tomorrow night, we have already, as I said, learned some early slated games. So we have a bunch of international games this year. We've got 3 in London. We have 1 in Munich, which I think is pretty cool. And then another one in Mexico City. So in London, we will have the Minnesota Vikings versus the New Orleans Saints on October 2nd. We have our New York Giants versus the Green Bay Packers on October 9th. I did say to Kate when we learned about this, we weren't thrilled about a London game, but I did mention that technically we were supposed to play Green Bay on the road this year. So I'd almost rather play this game in London than Lambeau Field because that's a huge home advantage always for the Green Bay Packers. So I can live with that.
The Giants can also just ruin my day at 9:30 and then I can just go to bed for the rest of the day.
There you go. Positive thinking.
Enough.
Sort of positive thinking.
Positive, negative.
Then we have Denver versus Jacksonville. They'll be playing in London on October 30th. So Munich, we are going to see the Seattle Seahawks versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on November 13th. And then Mexico City, we will have a really good divisional matchup between the San Francisco 49ers and the Arizona Cardinals on November 21st. So those are our international games for this season.
Does that mean that Halloween's on a Monday this year? If that game's on October 30th?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Caitlin's a huge Halloween fan. So I guess, 10/28 or 10/29 Friday, Saturday, get your Halloween parties in.
Well, just block your calendar now because I'll be having one for everyone listening.
No, I'm saying for everybody, but yes.
Definitely block your calendar.
He always does a really great Halloween party. We always look forward to that.
But no, the thing that frustrates me the most is that I live in a condo complex and you'd think that'd be a gold mine for kids to go trick-or-treating. There's
I know
40 bill. No one. This is like my 4th year. I think I've been here, and every year I'm prepared, and just no one comes, and I just sit there.
So easy. It would be so easy. Like there's thousands of people that live in your complex.
I know, and you guys, I know, we say I'm obsessed with Halloween, but I watch the Halloween movies, and we're they literally glorify Halloween night, where kids are coming to their door and they're doing that. I want that. I want kids coming to my door. I'm not creepy. I'm not. I want.
It's just part of the fun holiday spirit.
I know. I have to move to that street in North Caldwell where we grew up. Now that they shut down that block. I need to move there. I need to live and be that house. And
one day you might be be careful what you ask for, because some of those streets that really are the Halloween streets, I imagine you have to buy bags and bags and bags of candy. And when you get that stuff from a CVS or somewhere,
it's expensive. I know. Yeah, but you know what? It's worth it. I love Halloween. It's an investment. I'll put it in my yearly budget. It is an investment. I love it. I love Halloween so freaking much. So
well, speaking of holidays, we actually have an announcement for a Christmas Day game that will be taking place on Christmas Day at 4:30, which will air on CBS, and also a newly fan favorite is also going to air on Nickelodeon. So I know everybody had a lot of fun with the Nickelodeon.
So good.
And I think doing one for Christmas for kids and adults who really enjoyed it as well. I like that. So it is going to be the Denver Broncos versus the Los Angeles Rams.
That's a great game too.
Then we have another interesting game that they broke the news on, I guess, because it's got like a good story behind it. But Mike McCarthy is going to be making his return to Lambeau Field when Dallas plays Green Bay in Week 10 at 4:25 on Fox. So that's another good one to mark down.
I kind of understand. Like at first, I didn't realize why they were making such a big deal out of that game.
Why are they breaking that one?
I mean, it's two good NFC teams, so like I understood that. But I actually literally did not understand why it was a breaking game until that point was brought up. And I was like, oh, like I really was like, well, what if I don't think Green Bay will. So what if Dallas just randomly sucks, which can happen? I was like, why are they making such a big deal? And then someone had posted that and I was like,
so when we get the actual full schedule release, there's always like so many little games that if you saw them on paper, you would forget that there's like a good backstory to it.
Right.
So definitely keep your eye out because like NFL.com and like all those other major outlets, they'll definitely do articles once the schedule gets released. Like these are the games you want to watch and this is why. So Mike McCarthy, like I said, making his return to Lambeau in Week 10. And then we actually have in Week 2 a Monday Night Football double header. The first game is going to be this is a good AFC matchup. The Tennessee Titans versus the Buffalo Bills at 7:15 on ESPN. And then we also, I guess they're going to overlap, which is like a weird thing. Is we've got the Minnesota Vikings versus the Philadelphia Eagles at 8:30 on ABC.
I think that's dope.
That's what we have for you so far. Obviously, like
ABC, that's not a football channel, is it? That's a college football channel.
Well, they got a double header. They got to air them somewhere. So
that's weird. Yeah, I don't like the overlap, especially too, because I mean the first game is really good, but then
interesting too. Like what are we going to see from Eli and Peyton this year? Are they going to be doing how many games are they going to doing Monday Night Football? Are they going to be doing one of these games?
Well, they're signed for the next 2 seasons, baby. So we got them.
Right. They always make Monday Night Football a lot of fun. But that is what we have so far as like little early, spoiler alerts. This is what's out there. And then we'll get the full release tomorrow night.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. So I think my get it off my chest actually goes with the schedule release. So I'll talk about it.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
I don't think we have the same. Okay. I don't know if we have the same one. So
we'll get to it later.
Yeah. All right. So let's move into some free agency news because guys, we're still moving and grooving. Things are still Things are still happening. I think we've posted every day since the draft, since something has happened. So as we always say, like we're not live on Instagram right now, but we'll always Instagram and Twitter is when we'll post like what's happening in real time. So, and like I said, I think we've done every day since that draft ended. So still a lot of stuff moving and grooving. So here's some news for you guys. So after being released by Atlanta yesterday, Baltimore signed veteran running back Mike Davis to a 1-year deal. On Tuesday, Miami announced that they were signing running back Sony Michel after his 1-year stint with the Rams. Michel has won 2 Super Bowls in his 4-year career, one with New England and one with the Rams. So
did you I don't know why, I feel like Sony Michel has been in the league for so much longer than 4 seasons.
I 100% agree. I thought he was on the Patriots for 6 years. 6 years maybe. And then went to the Rams. So 100%. It was one of those things when it happened, I was like, wait a minute. I also had to kind of do a double take of did you know that he was on the Rams last year? He is he's the Patriot. I see him as the Patriot. And it was just
right.
You know what I mean? And obviously he was on the Super Bowl team, but it's you're right. I feel like he's been around for 100 years. Yeah. So 4 years is such a tiny amount of opinion.
Right.
So, but 2 Super Bowls, good for you. So 50%. We'll see what you can do in Miami. So who knows? He's going to be joining Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert. So in the backfield. So we'll see what goes on there.
See, this is the other part that I find weird. I felt Miami
was okay.
Had an excellent offseason as far as bringing in these 2 guys for their backfield. I think this is a phenomenal two-headed monster in Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert. And I kind of was like, what was the need for Sony Michel? Like, I just didn't understand it. So I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's interesting because I guess is Miami like looking, maybe they're trying to run it more. I mean, obviously we've got
clearly.
Well,
they also have Tyreek Hill, like
I know.
who, like obviously he's a wide receiver, but you could kind of do one of those short little dump offs, almost like he's a running back. And
you can do that with him.
I don't know. Now it feels crowded. Like there was no point. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
I get nervous too, like with a team that signed so many names. They kind of, who was it? What was it? The 1 year didn't the Eagles sign? They had on the offseason, they signed. Yeah. And then it was like bad. So it's like, I wonder is this really going to work in Miami? Like, are they going to have an actual solid offense that, Tua can work with, everyone else can work with, and you're kind of scared of? Or is it that kind of questionable? We made a lot of moves and it's crowded, like you had said. I think.
Yeah, I mean, listen, not to come after your man here, but like kind of like we were talking about Zach Wilson before, being like, you're given the weapons, let's see what you can do. Like, no excuses for Tua this year. I mean, he's got Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, all these guys in the backfield. I mean, my God, like you've got all the weapons in the entire world. So this is going to be a very interesting season for Tua.
Absolutely. And you're right. He's gotta perform here. All right. So on Monday, it was reported that Baltimore is interested in free agent wide receiver Jarvis Landry. So yes, Jarvis Landry is still a free agent. Like that is
Odell Beckham Jr. Yep. So were a lot of big names.
A lot of people. So that's why we keep saying like stay. There's still things to be done, people. Yeah. So Landry, the 5-time Pro Bowler, was released by Cleveland in March after the team could not find a trade partner. Very similar to moving on to the New York Giants. We did release cornerback James Bradberry after 2 seasons with the team. We needed the cap space, obviously, but we were at a point where we couldn't actually find a trade partner. I think people did, but I don't think it really met what we wanted and what our needs were. So,
and now NFL.com, like if you want to see who's available too, who's still left, because there's a lot of big names, NFL.com like has a whole tracker. They always update it, obviously, as people get released, like James Bradberry, of who are the top free agents still available. And I think Odell Beckham Jr. is number 1 on that list. And now that James Bradberry has been released, he is the top defensive player on their list. So we hate to lose him. He's going to be such an asset. He's still such a solid starter in this league. And, best of luck to him. Hopefully he finds a good home and finds himself getting all the playing time that he deserves.
Well, that's what I wanted to say. Like, honestly, it's a massive shout out to James Bradberry. Thank you for everything that you did for the New York Giants. It's a huge loss for us. I know we're gaining a lot of cap. I really didn't want to lose him. I wanted to make it work. There was a couple players I really, truly wanted to try to make it work with. He is a young player though, so it's not like he was going to take a massive pay cut or anything like that. See what you got to do in the league. And he's very talented as well. And you could see it, all of the you see on Instagram when it was announced, all the players coming through, and just his true character really came out at that time. He was a true leader for us, a really great player. So really sucks to lose him. But obviously, we talk about it all the time. The NFL is a business, and these decisions are made whether you like it or not. And unfortunately, this was one that we did not like. So Alrighty, and then on Thursday, linebacker Kyle Vanoy signed with the Chargers after being released by New England in March. So, guys, like we said, there's names moving around on this list, and there's names moving around, and again, like James Bradberry is now moving into the free agency list. So there are people moving to new teams, but there's actually still so many people listed there. So stick around because a lot more stuff. It's only May 11th. There's so much that is going to be done.
Absolutely. It's going to be very interesting to see, like we said, there's some big time names. It's going to be interesting to see where they end up. Even like somebody like Jarvis Landry. I mean, going from Cleveland potentially to a division rival in Baltimore.
Yeah.
Obviously he's still a player that can produce. So lot of good little gems out there that are still waiting to find their new home.
Absolutely.
But let's get into our big story of the week. We've got one story because, you know, it is big. Well, not crazy, but there's a lot to it. And we loved dissecting it. But this is our big story of the week in the world of housewives. And Andy Cohen is spilling the fun insider info.
We love the insider info.
Review. This was a fascinating read, I thought, for many reasons. And we will discuss it. But The Hollywood Reporter recently named Andy as their unscripted TV player of the year. And for that award and recognition, they did interview Andy. And that is where he spilled some interesting tea. So this was one of the to me, this was like the most interesting. Because I think I would have never guessed this. And it makes me feel like we think we know Andy, but this surprised me. I don't know if this surprised you or not. But he did admit to having deep relationships with 3 specific housewives.
I'm not surprised about this.
No, I'm really surprised. So we'll discuss who else we think it could have been. But he said that he is closest with Roni's Luann de Lesseps, New Jersey's Teresa Giudice, and Atlanta's Kandi Burruss. So I do have a quote from him, and then we can kind of, discuss our thoughts on it. But he said the ones that I've been with the longest are the ones that I have the deepest relationships with. It's wild to me the amount of time that I've known Luann de Lesseps, Teresa Giudice, and Kandi Burruss. Those are people that I consider colleagues. I have great respect for them, but yes, there is that odd relationship. So What he's meaning by that is like, I'm their boss. So it's kind of weird because they're my friends, but I'm their boss. So I don't know. This very much so surprised me because, of course, he named some like long-standing cast members. That's not surprising. You would think that, yes, it would be someone like who's been there a very long time. I guess Luann doesn't surprise me so much. Teresa surprised me a little bit. And I know Teresa has been the rock of New Jersey. She has been the OG of that franchise. I feel like intellectually he wouldn't get along with her.
I honestly I think we laugh. I think that's like a really good point because
that's why it surprised me, to be very honest.
I think Andy actually comes off as very intellectual. He seems very smart. I actually almost feel like I would have a hard time speaking to him. And I don't think that I'm stupid by any means.
I just think he's very intelligent.
And I just think that he has his ways on certain things, which is totally fine. But I think Teresa has her ways on things. So that's why I'll explain why I'm not surprised, but that is a great point. Cause yes, I 100% agree with you.
Yeah. I feel like he would be purposely dumbing himself down, having conversations with her. And so that's why it surprised me. And then Kandi, again, none of these are shocking, right? Because like I said, they're longstanding cast members, but I just feel like he could have gone so many different ways with this. So
yeah,
those are his 3 closest, but
yeah, I'm not really surprised. So I think with Luann and Teresa, where it probably maybe their relationship.
They've both been through a lot. So maybe
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
So they both obviously did. Teresa did more jail time than Luann being locked up for what she did, but Luann still went through a lot. Right. And I think they both were actually taken back on the show with no remorse, no regrets, nothing like that. So I think Andy probably spent a lot of time with them behind the scenes to understand how are we going to bring you back on the show. He probably had to forgive them for what they did because it's.
But also are you okay?
And that too. Yeah. I don't want to bring down people. Yeah, exactly. I think so. I think there was a lot of time spent. And then Kandi's has been around for a very long time. So I'm not really particularly surprised with that one. And now she's got her spinoff on Bravo. So, and I think too, when you do a spinoff, I think you're pretty close with the person because Andy Cohen owns Bravo.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do
he's not just giving spinoffs to anybody.
No. And I think hers is actually doing like really well. So I think that was like a no-brainer on his part. So for her to leave Atlanta and then do a spinoff, like that was huge. So like, I think that's where a lot of that comes from as well. And Atlanta's been around it's after Orange County, it's the next franchise up. So clearly that relationship is long.
Yeah, you kind of knew somebody from Atlanta was going to land in that top 3.
Yeah, so that's why like I'm really not surprised with this list. And I think directly for Teresa and Luann, it's because of that factor of how much they've been through. He had to be there for them and he had to be there to make the decision to put them back on the show. There's women where things have happened and he has said no, like they're not coming back. We're not doing this. So like Housewives, like New Jersey went on while Teresa was in jail and she was still very much a story. Like she was there still. So that was, so that's my thought on that.
Well, then maybe this one will surprise you more and surprise
I am.
But he said that the wife he wants to bring back the most, who is no longer with the Housewives, is Roni's Alex McCord.
No.
Alex, obviously, with her husband Simon, they were OGs on Roni. He says that as much as he would love this, he understands that she does live in Australia now, so he knows that it will never happen.
No.
But maybe I need to read more of the actual in-depth interview because in the articles that I was reading that were just giving like blurbs, I didn't get to really read why Alex, because that's fascinating. I know, like, I feel as though a lot of viewers didn't like Alex. I think she was interesting TV, but I don't think people actually liked her.
It's not that I didn't like her. It's the relationship was just, I don't know. I didn't like her
and
her husband's relationship.
She's like a strange bird. She's a strange bird. Maybe he was just fascinated by her, honestly.
There's out of all of the Housewives, like there's so much fascination from these ladies. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It was definitely surprising. It was surprising. But he also said with casting new Roni ladies, which is he reiterated, and he's reiterated this a million times in different articles and different interviews, that they're really trying to nail this new Roni cast, completely start over, get it right. So he said that his team is doing their best, their very best, more than ever, to be thorough and avoid situations like Salt Lake City's Jenny, who obviously, they vetted for this show, and then it comes out that you can easily find, back through social media, old posts of, offensive messages in regards to the Black Lives Matter movement.
Right.
So that was, they should have been doing their due diligence. Now they're apparently doing it more than ever, which, is a good thing. They should.
It's so easy. There's so much.
It's so easy. She was talking about the Black Lives Matter movement. That didn't happen. Sometimes I see, I watch a lot of reality TV, and I've seen a lot of people get kicked off for certain things that they said, 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Right.
This was recent enough that you didn't have to dig too
It was 2019, and
as far as Watch What Happens Live goes, Andy did admit that he hit a wall 5 years into hosting it, and he knows it prompted viewers to feel like he was kind of over it. And to be honest, he was, but he now has a renewed love for the series and wants to continue it beyond the end of his current contract in 2023. I would have never guessed that he hit a wall. I'm not an avid watcher of Watch What Happens Live, but I definitely, when I see a guest that I like on and I want to hear it, or maybe I was watching Housewives and it comes on after, just keep the channel on. He always seems like he's having fun with it. So I was a little bit surprised to hear that, but he does have his renewed love for it. He wants to keep it going into the future, so that's good.
Yeah, I'm happy he wants to keep it too. I'm not really surprised because if you think about it, it was a project where, and this is obviously before Ben and Lucy. So, but it was for 5 years, and it was a late night show. It didn't come on until 10 o'clock at night. So he was probably running around all day, doing everything they needed to do for Bravo. And then the time that you need to actually turn on and be on camera was at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And it went for like, and he did, like, we're going to get into some like guests that were questionable. Like sometimes the guests like suck, in my opinion. Like I'm not an avid watcher like you are, but like I do, like lately I've been watching it after like the episodes of Housewives. Like I've been catching it, or I'll catch it like a bunch of clips like on Instagram the next day. Like I gotta be honest, like sometimes I'm like, who the hell is he talking to? Like, I don't know who that is.
Sometimes
like,
they're a little random, but what I was going to say is a lot of the time, at least probably 2 or 3 times on a weekly basis, he will pair someone with a housewife. And I feel as though the show gives our show a lot of content because there's a lot, these are the women reacting maybe to the episode that just played or giving us that insider tidbit like, oh, like you just watched this episode. This is really what happened, or this is why I feel this way. Like I feel like Watch What Happens Live gives us a lot of talking points. And what's nice about it is it's always 2 guests at a time. And it's usually one housewife and like somebody else. Mm-hmm. So instead of getting the insider info during the reunion where all the women are screaming over each other, you have one woman there and you can kind of actually hear their side and what they're thinking and how they feel. So
yeah, no, it's good. So I'm happy that we're moving on to more seasons, and we got to get there. We have to be like the bartender one night or in the crowd. We got to get there.
Amazing. Okay, so some of his failures over the years, he said terms of endearment actress Deborah Winger is probably the person who would never agree to come back and watch What Happens Live, and said she did not seem to be his biggest fan after the show. To be very honest, I don't know Deborah Winger very well. I Googled who she was to see her face. I still was like, I don't really know her. I never watched Terms of Endearment. But
I've never seen it. I'm looking at it.
Fascinating. I'd love to hear like a full list of people that he was like, oh, they didn't like my show, or it was an awkward experience, or we didn't get along. I want like a whole laundry list.
I have no idea who Deborah Winger is.
Yeah, so it doesn't really matter. We don't need her back. People don't know who she is. Then he also said that he produced a show for Bravo that failed. It was a reboot of Battle of the Network Stars. He said the concept was that they were all reality stars. It was people from American Idol, Survivor, maybe a couple from Project Runway. Omarosa was the sideline reporter. Richard Hatch, who's from Survivor, competed. So did some women from that plastic surgery show, The Swan on Fox. This was 100 moons ago.
Yeah.
It was just a huge bomb. The Bravo audience did not want it on any level. So listen, you can't knock them all out of the park. You can't all be home runs. Andy's been with Bravo, been in the TV business for years and years and years and years. And obviously what he's doing now, he's very successful with. So we love Andy. We love when he gives us that little like juicy tea, and
I love the tea.
Like breaks the fourth wall and is just like, all right, this is who I love. This is who I, who I miss
so much. It's like we talk about Housewives on this show, but Bravo is entirely it's the fashion shows, it's Below Deck, it's Vanderpump, they have I think Top Chef is Bravo. Like they have so many things that Andy Cohen is literally the like the star of all of it. So I just it is what it is. I'm going to send a text message real quick, but hold on, we'll keep it going.
Okay, well, why don't I introduce the game that we are playing tonight? It is called What's More Likely 2022 Season Edition. So last year at this time, we actually played this game. We have some similar questions, but some different ones as well. But we look ahead to the 2022 NFL season, and we're going to predict which scenario would be more likely to happen. We do have 10 different scenarios. And yeah, again, this is all predictions kind of how we think the 2022 NFL season is going to go down. So Kate, are you ready?
I'm ready. So thank you for that introduction. I truly do appreciate it. So again, we're doing, what's likely more going to happen. And these scenarios, Katie, I got to tell you, you put them together. They are tough. They're tough. They get a little tougher near the end, but a lot going on for sure. So let's just go through each year and we will share with you who or what we think is going to happen, more likely. So the first one, The Rams repeat as Super Bowl champions, or a team goes 0-17 in the regular season.
I mean,
What do you think?
I said it before in the beginning of the show that, like, even though it's just one game, adding a 17th regular season game, it changes a lot of things. And to me, like, we may never see it. We've seen an 0-16 team. We've seen it more than once. We may never see an 0-17 team. I mean, things would have to be really, really, really bad. I feel like even some of the worst teams last season, who obviously nobody had 0 wins, everybody had at least 1 or 2 wins, because things just go your way. Like even Detroit, like as bad as they were last year, they were in almost every game.
Every game.
So it's like things would have to really not go your way every single week to go 0-17. I think it is more likely that, even though it's hard, I think it's more likely that the Rams could repeat as Super Bowl champions.
100% agree. And it's the actual extra game, but it's actually even with 16, it's really hard to lose 16 games. Right. And that should be a compliment to every NFL team out there. You guys are all professionals. It ties back to the argument when people are like, oh, Alabama should come play an NFL team. No, they would get spanked. It's such a different game. But right. There's so many talented players in the NFL. No matter even if you are a bad team, it's actually difficult to go right. 0-16, 0-17. Now right. An extra game on your schedule. So I 100% agree with you on this one. I went with that the Rams are going to repeat as Super Bowl champions.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, it's me. Sorry, I'm distracted. So number 2, Denver goes from worst to first in their division, or Baltimore goes from worst to first in their division.
I'm going Baltimore, going worst to first. It's even like, obviously in the AFC North, it's a good division, so somebody's got to finish in 4th. But it's like crazy to think that Baltimore finished in 4th place last year. And I think Pittsburgh, we both agree that they're going downhill. I think Cincinnati, obviously, they were in the Super Bowl this past season. They're going to be good. Cleveland is a very wild card. Yeah. I have no idea what to expect from Cleveland this upcoming season. Deshaun Watson at quarterback, it's just a whole different look and a whole different team. I don't really know. I cannot imagine Baltimore finishing in 4th place. And I do think that this isn't like an outlandish thing to think that they could finish in 1st place. So Denver obviously is playing in a very difficult division. Yeah. So I'm going with Baltimore on this one.
Well, so I went with Baltimore as well. And you have to peel back the layers of the division on this one, because Baltimore, that division is so competitive within itself. Anyone can come out on top this season, or anyone can come out on the bottom. Baltimore can actually still, they could come in 4th. You don't know, honestly, with that division and honestly everything going on right now. But the Broncos coming up to the top, just because you got Russell Wilson, it's not ideal.
Yeah.
It doesn't really sit with me as a realistic.
Very hard division. Very. As good as we were just saying the AFC North is, the AFC West is even better than that. So
right.
That will be very difficult.
All righty. Number 3, New Orleans rookie wide receiver. Chris, I messed this up. It's
Olave.
Okay. I think I was going to say that. Chris Olave makes the Pro Bowl, or Atlanta's rookie wide receiver Drake London makes the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, this is more so me again, like with the last question you said, you got to dissect their divisions.
Right.
This is more so me dissecting the teams that they're on and who has almost more weapons. I'm going with Atlanta's rookie wide receiver Drake London. I don't know. I just think, obviously he was the first wide receiver taken. Right. If Atlanta wanted a wide receiver, they had their pick of the litter. They went with Drake London. And I feel like it's pretty close, New Orleans and Atlanta, as far as the weapons that they have. I just think Drake London might get a little bit more love. They believed in him so much to take him where they took him over all the other wide receivers. And I feel like, as much as we always bitch about the fact that they didn't use Kyle Pitts, you hope that they took this kid and they use him because they should. But I'm going Drake London.
So I'm going Chris Olave, basically because I thought New Orleans picked him at a good spot and it fits their system a little bit more. Drake London going off the board first. That was what I spoke about last week. That was my shocking. Why did Atlanta take him where they took him, and why was he the first wide receiver off the board? I didn't understand it. This is nothing against him as a rookie coming into the league. There's so many other options. I really didn't understand that pick. You bring up, the comparison to Kyle Pitts. That was a no-brainer for any team last season to take Kyle Pitts. And you have Atlanta take him and do absolutely nothing with him. So now you have a kid. Why'd he go off the board right away? Do you think they're actually going to use him? No.
I want to argue what we argued for like the whole entire season. But as much as and I'm calling us out a little bit, as much as we always say that they didn't use Kyle Pitts, and I had him in fantasy.
Near the end, they did.
The kid still racked up almost 1,000 receiving yards. So it felt like they weren't using him, but they were.
I think he probably took matters into his own hands.
For a rookie, whether wide receiver or tight end, for a rookie I think he finished with 900 something receiving yards. That's very difficult to do as a rookie. So as much as we were like bitching because it was a very slow start with Atlanta and Kyle Pitts, a very slow start. But I have a little bit more faith, that with taking Drake London where they did, that they're going to move in the direction of hopefully using him.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Alrighty, number 4, the Colts running back Jonathan Taylor leads the league in rushing yards again, or the Rams wide receiver Cooper Kupp leads the league in receiving yards again.
So this is like a combination of why I chose what I did. I went with Cooper Kupp leading the league in receiving yards, and that's partially because Cooper Kupp, like nobody was even close to touching him, right? But then also I keep saying, and I'll say it again and again and again, I actually feel like there are a lot of good running backs in the league now, like across the board. And as much as I love Jonathan Taylor and think he is one of the best, if not maybe you can make arguments for the best running back in the league, there are a lot of other guys that can take that top spot. And yes, there's tons of good wide receivers too. But like I said, nobody came close to Cooper Kupp. He's still with his boy Matthew Stafford. They have an amazing connection, and I'm going with Kupp.
I just think that as much as it was amazing to see everything that Jonathan Taylor did last season, he did a lot of it, near the end when Derrick Henry wasn't involved. And there's obviously a lot of very other talented running backs out there as well. Right. I actually think though, in this, call it bias, I think it's Derrick Henry's comeback season, baby. He got injured. He's got a lot to prove coming back and showing that he can come back off an injury and still put up massive amount of yards and points for his team. So I think, unfortunately, it was a little bit lower from Jonathan Taylor, only because I think Derrick Henry will outperform there. So that's why I ended up going with Cooper Kupp on this one, because I don't think anyone's in his area. I don't think anyone can do it.
Yeah. And like I said, there's tons of good wide receivers, but there were seasons there where like Michael Thomas, like year after year, was finishing as the top receiver. Right. You can go even further back. Megatron, Calvin Johnson, year after year, nobody could touch him. It was always his crown.
I miss him.
It's not outlandish to see a wide receiver year after year, be the top guy, and Cooper Kupp has the ability to do so.
Majors, I do miss Calvin Johnson, such a phenomenal athlete, but miss seeing a giant wide receiver out in the field. So just fun to watch. All right, number 5, Tampa Bay's Tom Brady has more passing touchdowns, or Green Bay's Aaron Rodgers has more passing touchdowns. I must say too, I love and I know it's like been a thing, but it's like it was like it meant to be Tom Brady going to Tampa. TB. I think it was just honestly. Thanks for the shout out. Oh, we got a great Eli Rax. He does love our shows. Thank you so much. We do appreciate that. But yeah. So what do you think is more likely to happen.
It's always good to dissect these two. They're always playing at MVP level, a lot of time winning the MVP award. And if you look at them side by side, they're very close. So fun fact, in the past 2 seasons combined, Rodgers has thrown for 85 touchdowns and Tom Brady has thrown for 83. So they're very often on par with one another. I just like the weapons better in Tampa Bay. I really do. I have to go Tom Brady, but this will be very close. And I do believe one of them will lead the league in touchdown passes. It's just a matter of which one. I'm going to go Tom Brady.
So I'm going with Tampa Bay and Tom Brady as well, only because I think that Green Bay is going to be forced to look at the run game more this year. You know, they got rid of Devontae Adams. They did some moves in the draft, but I think Aaron Rodgers will be able to throw it to whoever he wants to and make plays, but they might have to rely a little bit more on the run game. So that's why I'm going with Tom Brady on this one, strictly because we're looking at passing touchdowns. So, Alrighty, so number 6, Jacksonville's rookie defensive end, number 1 overall pick, Trayvon Walker, has more sacks, or Detroit's rookie defensive end, Aiden Hutchinson, has more sacks. It's a good one. The last 3 are difficult.
It's hard because, I want to go off their college stats, right? But I also want to go off of what teams did they end up on. Now, unfortunately, Jacksonville, even though they used to be known as Saxonville, Jacksonville and Detroit were definitely towards the bottom of the barrel as far as total team sacks last season, hence why they probably both went for defensive ends. So I guess when they're even in that aspect, I am going to give the edge to Aiden Hutchinson based on their production last year in college. I know it's going to be different, but Aiden had 14 sacks last season compared to Trayvon's 6. For that alone, I mean, it's very hard. I'm going with Aiden.
I'm going with Aiden Hutchinson as well. Excuse me, the wrong pipe. Wine went down the wrong pipe. I think I am still a little very talented Trayvon Walker. I think I'm actually still a little surprised that they picked him first overall. Could have been. I didn't put him in my top 5 actually. I think you did, but I definitely didn't. But I don't know. I think again, like you had said, Aiden Hutchinson the last 2 seasons at Michigan were just so outstanding and really, really good. And from that aggressive upfront, you want to bring Saxonville to Detroit, I think they're absolutely going to with a player like this. And I think Detroit is actually just more positioned to do better this season as opposed to Jacksonville. So definitely my reasoning there. All right. Number 7, the Rams will repeat as the NFC West champions, or Cincinnati repeats as the AFC North champions.
This was my hardest one. I went back and forth on this one a bunch of times. I kind of already earlier in these questions dissected the AFC North, but of course the NFC West is a very difficult division as far as, the Rams playing in it with Arizona, San Fran, and Seattle. I think it's more likely that Cincinnati repeats as AFC North champions because I do believe that the NFC West teams that could fight for that top spot against the Rams are better than the teams that could fight Cincinnati for the top spot. So I'm going to go with the Bengals repeating as AFC North champs.
So I am going with the Rams.
Back and forth, so...
But I think the reason why is because I actually think that the AFC, North could put up another contender for first place. I think they're both very, very, and someone did a good comment here. When have the Bengals been consistent? I think that's a fair point for for someone who's been a second Bengals fan for a very long time.
Well, hopefully this is the turn,
it could be
in the right direction. You got a
freaking Andy Cohen.
Nobody expected them to make the Super Bowl this year.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So I think the reason why I went with the Rams is because I think that that division's very competitive. They're going to send more than one team to the playoffs. But I think about to the AFC North, what I just said before, it's such a competitive division year after year. And now you have the Browns and the Bengals coming out and being competitive to the Steelers and the Ravens. So it's so easy for anyone to be number one, in my opinion, right now. And you look at what, I mean, I still think back to the fact that how many times was Joe Burrow sacked in the postseason last year and they still went to the Super Bowl? Yikes. Like, that's not going to fly every season.
No,
it's not going to. So that to me, so I had to go with the Rams on this one because I think there's too much competition in the AFC North. All righty, number 8. Dallas has the number 1 offense again this season, or Buffalo has the number 1 defense again this season?
I went with Buffalo having the number 1 defense again.
Also, people love, by the way, that we call them.
We always literally like without
people. It's like I get texts sometimes who are cracking up.
It's one of those things that, like, I don't know. Caitlin and I always like have our own lingo on a bunch of stuff, and that's one of those things that's what we call them, and it just slides right into the conversation. But I am going with Buffalo as the number 1 defense again this season. I feel as though if you were to like take last year and been like, hey, I'm a fortune teller, I'm going to let you know that Dallas is going to have the number 1 offense this year, I'd be like, oh, really? Okay. Whereas if a fortune teller told me Buffalo is going to have the number 1 defense, I'd be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So I just feel like Buffalo has been more consistent as far as having a top defense versus Dallas having a top offense.
I got to tell you, I'm still committing to Buffalo. So I picked Buffalo as well. Yeah. They are the best team in the NFL, in my opinion, top to bottom. And I'm going to go in.
They were definitely by far the biggest disappointment as far as like not going on.
And I don't know what, I mean, listen, you think back to the game against the Chiefs, that was, no one would have predicted.
Everybody was in on them this season.
No one predicted that to happen. You know, it's overtime. It's 13 seconds. No one. And I think that's the reason why they put so much emphasis on the rule change there. Like no one, I mean, I don't say no one expected that to happen. You put the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hands. Yes, of course you're expecting that to happen, but that was a mind blower. I think Buffalo wins that game. They win the Super Bowl, in my opinion. So, hands down, they are, Buffalo is the best team in the NFL going into the 2022 season. And I know I've been riding on them for a while. Talent-wise, literally up and down the field, they truly are the best team.
What's funny is Buffalo could knock Dallas off the top spot on offense. So like you said, they're amazing on both sides of the ball. Like Buffalo could literally take over the top spot for both offense and defense.
Right. Yeah, and literally, yes, like we know Dallas has the top offense in the NFC East. Like, I don't want to read that shit. Like, duh. Like, I hope they have it. Honestly, though, they have it on paper.
Nobody on this show is arguing that.
Yeah, like no one's arguing it, but also sometimes too, like they have it on paper. Like sometimes they screw up and don't perform. So like, let's see it. So. All right, number 9. So these last 2 ones, these last 3 were definitely difficult. Seattle's Drew Lock has more passing touchdowns, or Atlanta's Marcus Mariota has more passing touchdowns.
Pete Carroll's been asked about like the quarterback position, and he's saying like, "Oh, we're not really looking at BS." I still have such a difficult time believing that Drew Lock is going to be like Seattle's guy this year. Like, I don't know about you. I don't know how everybody else feels, but I'm still sitting here waiting for them to like sign Baker Mayfield.
Sipping my wine. That's how I feel.
Sign somebody. Like, yes. And remember when Drew Lock came into the league? Like I was all on the Drew Lock like train. Like I thought he was going to be a good NFL quarterback, and it just never happened. And he's had opportunities and didn't see much. Marcus has been a legitimate starting NFL quarterback before. We've seen it. We felt like the rug got pulled out from underneath him, and all of a sudden he was a backup quarterback in the league, and we were kind of puzzled by that. I'm not sold on either one of these guys. I don't think either one of these guys should be anybody's week 1 starting quarterback. But if these are the guys that they are in fact going to roll with, I'd rather have Marcus.
Yeah, me too. Obviously, you know, I like Marcus Mariota. I definitely been higher on him than most people over the past couple of seasons. I agree with you 100%. Drew Lock is not the guy in Seattle, and I don't know why they're dragging it out. Like, what are you doing? Like, Pete Carroll, you've been in this league for how long? Like, you cannot.
It's okay to admit to us that you need a quarterback. You can
like, it's really not a thing. Stop toying with us. Like, we know you're full of shit. Like, Drew Lock is not your week one guy, and like, that's fine. Like, that's okay. So, in regards to that, like, I just don't think he's going to be playing that much. So I had to go with Marcus Mariota on this one. Okay. So he's clearly going to be throwing more touchdown passes because he's going to be in there. So, I'll get into some I don't really agree that Seattle's going to tank this season on purpose. I think they're going to do whatever they can. They still got some weapons. So we'll see what – they did get some weapons, from Denver. So, I mean, they got Noah Fant. So we'll see what goes on there. So, all right, the last one. And I must say, this was the most difficult one for me on this list.
Okay.
And I did have to peel back the layers here.
Okay.
The AFC West sends 3 teams to the playoffs, or the NFC West sends 3 teams to the playoffs.
I could understand people making arguments on both sides. For me, this wasn't as hard. I just felt like this was what it was for me. I think the AFC West sends 3 teams to the playoffs. That's more likely than the NFC West. Arizona is kind of like my dark horse for a team that's randomly going to struggle this year. And then, of course, like, I'm taking Seattle out of it, right? Mm-hmm. San Fran was a team like the Bengals where, like, they went much further than anybody thought they would. Like, I think they're a good team, but they definitely, like I said, they went further than people thought. I think it wouldn't shock me completely if, like, San Fran were to be a team that misses the playoffs this upcoming season. And if I'm thinking that Arizona is going to take a step back, there's a potential that only one team comes out of this division. Whereas I look at the AFC West, the Chargers are going to be in it. Kansas City is going to be in it. Las Vegas, even though I thought they were a weak playoff team last year, they were a playoff team last year. Mm-hmm. And Denver, if Denver's your worst team in the division, I know you said having Russell Wilson, it doesn't change everything, but it changes some.
It'll change, yep.
It'll change some. Obviously, it's an upgrade at the most important position on a football team. But yeah, I got to go AFC West on this one. I just think, and we definitely had this question on the show like a couple weeks back, who we thought the number one division in football, and it is the AFC West, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, and that's where, I went with the AFC West as well. But I think, the NFC is so talented, and you took the words right out of my mouth, because I see the Cardinals going down, and their draft sucked, and they don't have the room to suck. And now, it's
no DeAndre Hopkins for the first 6 games of the season.
Like, that's huge. And I love
Calvin Ridley. What am I saying? That's Atlanta.
No, and I love everything that James Conner was able to do, but he was doing it basically, on the backs of nothing else going on. So yeah. And Kyler Murray was kind of so-so last year. So he's not someone that I'm riding on. I never have, never will. So I 100% agree with you on all parts. And I think, with the AFC West, my biggest question mark was the Raiders. Could they go? And they obviously did this past year. Could they repeat? And I actually think they're in a better position than Arizona. So that's why I did the comparison. And I 100% agree with you that it will be the AFC West. I think you definitely articulated it a little bit more than me, but I was thinking literally everything that you were thinking. So yeah.
All right. Well,
it was good.
Very, very interesting 2022 NFL season. Yeah. Obviously, when we get closer to the start of it, we start giving record predictions and stuff like that. So that's when it gets real interesting. But we got a couple more months until that. So it is now the point of the night where I guess this is going to be like a joint little get it off our chest, kind of, maybe.
I don't know if it'll be similar.
Part of the show where we talk positive, negative Housewives football, life, wine, whatever you're thinking, whatever you're feeling, whatever you want to get off your chest. So I know you said that yours has to do with the schedule release. So does mine. So I will let you go first.
All right, well, this is for everyone out there tomorrow when you're looking for the schedule release on social media. So you're on Facebook, you're on Instagram, you're on Twitter. You are like, yes, let's see what it is. Do not be upset about the freaking games that your team gets and take it out on that NFL's team marketing department for what they chose to do for their schedule release. I will guarantee you that their marketing department did not sleep for the last 3 months. They've known about this for the last 3 months. They've been on a non-disclosure agreement. They've had to keep their mouth shut for people in their family to come. What? Yes, Katie. Do you want to know how many NDAs I've signed in my 9-year career?
But like, you really think, like, you think like 3 months ago they already knew what the schedule was?
100%.
Really?
100%. So what they do, so you'll see, like if you look at it on social, they announce them in the most unique ways. So it takes time. I'll give it 2 months.
No, I understand, but like, does the NFL even know 3 months ago what the schedule was?
100%.
Okay.
So I'm guessing. So think about these people as real life people. So I always joke on Twitter when people reply to the Giants when they're saying like, oh, trade him or like bench him or draft him. You think the social media person's like, yeah, okay, let me go call Joe Shane up real quick and tell him you said this. There's a business side, there's a player side, and there's like, that's it. So marketing is on the business side of things. Personnel is actual players. So you guys need to understand that if you're pissy about your schedule that gets released tomorrow, don't take it out on the marketing team. I saw so many examples last year where people were like, what is this video? It's the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life. Oh my God, wow. What, do you have a 5-year-old working for you? This is so stupid. You're just mad that your schedule sucks. Guess what? Everyone's schedule sucks. It's the NFL. You're going into it. We're X amount of months out, and you're already contemplating your season. That's why your life is miserable. It sucks. Do not take it out on that team's marketing team, because I can guarantee you that, guess what? They don't give a shit probably what you're saying to them. This is coming from personal experience. So just lock it up. Leave the marketing people out of it. They're not calling up your owner or your GM being like, guys, listen, we got to change the schedule. This fan number 008 is not happy with what we did. So relax, get over it, moving on. So that I knew it was not related to yours, but it's still, I take personal offense to this because like, it's just don't waste your time, guys. It's not worth it. So
mine is just like, and I guess we're part of the problem here because we shared the news with you at the beginning of the show, kind of giving you some of the games that have already, gotten leaked and been thrown out there. But I do kind of hate that, like, they have this whole show tomorrow and we'll let you know where you can watch it. And it just seems pointless to me because it all like breaks out. Like it will literally, like, you can wake up tomorrow and all throughout like the workday, you'll basically know by the end of the workday probably what your team's entire schedule looks like. Yeah. Probably lunchtime, probably your lunch break, you will know it. Yeah. So that kind of bothers me that happens. I know we've talked about it before, like with the NFL draft, how we hate when things get broken on Twitter, like, seconds before it actually gets announced on TV. I was happy with that this year because I couldn't watch the broadcast. So I was living off of like the tweets. Right. But I just feel like it's pointless. I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, but college basketball, like Selection Sunday, where people end up in the bracket in the tournament, I feel like that's kept pretty hush-hush. Actual broadcast happens. So 100%. Use that as a model. Like, that's obviously a very big deal. To me, that's more of a big deal than like an NFL schedule release. Those are like the seedings and the regions for March Madness. That's a huge deal. And it could be your team. Like, your team can go live on YouTube and announce it. Like, it could be like, it doesn't have to be like a whole broadcast where 32 teams are announcing their schedule. Like, I just feel like it's complete. It's a waste. It's pointless to like call, oh, we're going to release the schedule tomorrow night at 8. Why don't you just call it a reaction show where you sit and talk about it, because it's all going to be broken before then.
That's what all the people are yeah, it's exactly it. Yeah.
So that's my getting off my chest. I just think it's really pointless. But with that being said, it is one of the things that you want to watch tomorrow night.
You do. It is. It is. There's a couple other things you want to watch as the week goes on as well before we see you next time. The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills season 12 premiere did start a half hour ago. I haven't watched Beverly Hills since Lisa Vanderpump got kicked off, so I'm done with them. Atlanta is on Sundays at 8 p.m. The Real Housewives of New Jersey, we didn't ask for a part 3, but it is going to be on Tuesday at 8 p.m. NFL schedule release, like we said, is tomorrow at 8 p.m. on the NFL Network with additional coverage on ESPN2. But just again, if you're on Twitter, it's going to come out before lunchtime, like Katie said. So it's the show. It's a reaction show. You're absolutely correct. So, yeah. All righty.
Well, everybody in their teams. Honestly, I celebrate anytime I don't see the Giants play Dallas at Dallas week 1.
We're not. I think it's already. I think the Giants.
Only thing. Also, Caitlin and I both have November birthdays, so I always specifically kind of look at like what game is around my birthday, what game is around hers, because I'm like, I think last year my birthday was around the Kansas City game, so I was like, cool, that's a big L for my birthday.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I know. So we definitely look. Well, earmuffs if you don't want to hear Katie, but I think I know who the Giants are playing week 1. So
I don't want to know. So
okay, then we will not say it on the show. But I did see something on Twitter, obviously. So
all right.
But with that being said, thank you guys as always for joining us. We will see you next time. We're shaking things up a little bit over the next 2 weeks. Katie is actually taking a phenomenal trip abroad. So you'll either see me by myself or you'll see me with a guest or two. Who knows? I'll keep you guys on your toes. But Katie's taking a much needed vacation that's been postponed, I don't know how many times due to COVID, but she's actually getting away as she should. But we will still keep delivering you guys content. As always, stay tuned across all of our social media platforms. As we spoke about earlier, free agency, still moving and grooving, people. So stay updated, follow us. We will catch you next time. But again, thank you guys so much.
Bye.
Good night.